Good morning to those of you in Canada and good afternoon to those of you in Europe. Thank you for joining our webinar today, an EU-Canada journey, Ceta, and where to find available resources to help you export. So this is a all-round webinar on the resources you can take advantage of in your Canadian journey. We'll be joined today by several officials from various organizations, such as the Director General of Trade of the European Commission, the Delegation of the European Union to Canada, the Enterprise Europe Network, the European Union Chamber of Commerce in Canada, both in Toronto and in Vancouver, along with the Canadian Trade Commissioner Service of Global Affairs Canada, which is Canada's foreign ministry. So before we start the presentation, I'd like to first introduce the Ceta Market Access Program, who will be hosting this webinar. If we could just advance the next slide, please. Thank you. So the Ceta Market Access Program is a 4-year project that is funded entirely by the European Union and supported by the European Union Delegation to Canada. And what we do is we assist European businesses, particularly small to medium-sized enterprises, to take full advantage of the recent Ceta trade agreement between the EU and Canada and all its provisions. We help these companies gain sector-specific information about the new opportunities that Ceta brings, especially when it comes to different sectors as well, in terms of removing any kind of market access barriers when they're trading with Canada. We provide guidance to businesses on how to benefit from Ceta while addressing certain challenges in their business strategies and accessing a new market. And finally, as we are a communications platform, such as what we are doing today with our webinar, we help create sustainable channels of communications between EU businesses seeking to enter the Canadian market and the institutional stakeholders that are involved. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our first speaker, Esther Nieto, of the Director General of Trade of the European Commission. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Esther to the stage.
Good afternoon and good morning to all of those that are attending the seminar, and it's great to have you all here, and I'm hoping that you have the opportunity to learn a lot about Ceta, and in particular about how to benefit from this agreement, which I think it's certainly one of the key objectives of this seminar. So without any further input, basically, I've been asked to provide you a little introduction about the agreement, about Ceta, which stands for the Comprehensive Trade and Investment Agreement between the European Union and Canada, that was signed in 2016 and provisionally entered into force in September 2017. Ceta, as we all call it, is one of the most ambitious and progressive trade agreements that the European Union has ever concluded. It offers companies like yours, but also Canadian companies, significant new opportunities for transatlantic trade and investment, and giving EU exporters, whether they're small or large, much improved access to one of the most developed markets. So with Ceta, European companies will receive the best treatment that Canada has ever offered to any other trading partner. And in that sense, it's already a pretty interesting agreement to look for and to benefit for. When we say it's comprehensive, we generally present the fact that it contains provisions, this agreement contains provision on a wide range of area that relates to the trading and investment relations between both regions, and you name it, whether that's market access for goods and services, whether that's rules on customs and trade facilitation, or addressing barriers to trade, with this facilitating access to procurement markets. As you can see, it is extremely broad in scope, and I don't want to spend the brief time we have today just to overwhelm me with details, but I just wanted to give you some examples of what benefits Ceta could actually be provided, and it's actually provided already to European exporters in particular. So first of all, and I think it's one of the most obvious one when talking about a trade agreement, certainly CETA is saving European exporters millions in customs duties. I mean, from day one, CETA is abolishing customs duty on 98% of the products that the EU trades with Canada on a daily basis. And our economic assessment, has shown that this could actually save EU businesses up to almost 600 million a year in customs duties alone. And for example, in the case of industrial products, the tariff liberalization is literally 100%. So that will be, in itself already a magnificent benefit from the agreement. But it's not only that. I mean, CETA also helps European firms to sell more and improve service to Canada and in Canada by creating new market access in a number of sectors, like, for example, transport or financial services, just to name a couple, but also by offering better mobility for employees, by providing also a framework whereby the EU and Canada can actually recognize each other's qualifications in certain regulated professions such as accountants, architects, engineers, lawyers, and that therefore improving even more the mobility among those regulated professions. One of the key actually highlights of CETA was actually the opportunity that now European companies have to bid for procurement contracts at all levels of the Canadian public system, which that includes also in provinces at provincial level. This is the most access that Canada has provided to any of the trading partners in the area of public procurement, and it could actually offer an open, non-discriminatory access to European bidders to an additional 32 billion euros per year of additional market access. So that's in terms of procurement. I mean, there's a number of other things that the agreement does, and which could also be very interesting for you from your perspective. Obviously, as in any other trade agreement, we also seek to, improve the protection of intellectual property rights and the innovation from our own companies. And a very particular element of that and of the market access, trying to improve market access as well, it's the, for example, now CETA allows 143, I believe, European products that have geographical indications to be sold now in Canada and to benefit from a similar protection from any imitations as, for example, you would find under European law. And Canada also promotes high quality investment between the EU and Canada, and sets up also an unprecedented new investment court system, which could, offer certainty and predictability to European investors with legal safeguards, and also levels of transparency that we have never seen before, and that actually are on par with either domestic or international courts. So I think all of that are just illustrations of why CETA could be of interest for you, for your companies, or the companies that you represent, and in a very practical manner. And just before having perhaps a small overview of what has been the assessment in the last 3 years or the first 3 years of CETA, I just want to address that sometimes, there's some that say that trade agreements are only for the big companies, but I think CETA is one of those agreements that actually can show that this is far from reality. I mean, if you look at the scope and the range of issues that CETA tackles and addresses, certainly, it has the interest of small and medium-sized firms very much at the core. And certainly, if we really believe this, this agreement will further enhance the ability of European small and medium-sized enterprises to export to Canada, either through a combination of reduced trade barriers, tariff elimination, cutting red tape by, for example, simplified custom procedures, more compatible technical requirements, or avoiding double testing in a certain number of sectors, for example. So I think it's a number of elements that you should consider when thinking about either announcing or entering the Canadian market, in terms of potential benefits this agreement could provide you. I know my time is shortened, but before passing the floor to my colleagues, that will certainly provide you with the most interesting elements of the discussion today, which is actually how you can concretely benefit from Ceta, and what are the ways and tools that we have developed and are at your disposal to enable you to do that. I think let me just finish with a brief assessment on how Ceta is actually performing. And I think from our perspective, we consider international trade and investment as an engine of our economies. And only in the European Union, 31 million jobs depend on exports to the rest of the world, out of which almost 8% of the exporters are actually small and medium sized. So if you look at the Ceta in particular, certainly is a young and it's a very recent agreement. It's only 3 years old, but it's already delivering concrete positive results. And since its provisional application, and this is where all the figures come in, the trade between the EU and Canada has increased significantly. We only have the latest figures we have are from 2019. We're waiting for the 2020 figures, but in the bilateral trade between the EU and Canada have increased on goods, for example, by 24% and 25% for services if you compare to the situation before Ceta was in place. The actually EU exports to Canada are growing at a stronger pace than the rest of the European exports to the rest of the world. So this is definitely an indicator that Ceta is performing extremely well for the European Union exporters. So we have a positive balance in terms of goods and services with Canada that keeps increasing, and that for example, and that is certainly a significant step up in terms of the pre-Ceta situation, where, for example, in the area of services, we have an increase of 60% compared to the situation pre-Ceta. So I think it all shows that not only it legally provides with new opportunities, but also it's performing extremely well. And I hope that from the seminar and the conversations that you're going to have with our colleagues today, you're going to see that there is a number of tools at your disposal that will definitely help you benefit the most out of this agreement, which we hope it's only beginning to deliver, and the potential for it to further benefit you and the colleagues is extremely high.
We will now be joined by Maud Labat of the European Union delegation to Canada, where she is a trade counselor, and she will go over some of the resources online available for exporters. So before further ado, Maud.
Welcome to those of you who are following us from Canada, and those of you who are following up from Europe in your afternoon. What I am here to present today is the first part of the online resources that we have developed to help you navigate this amazing agreement that Esther has just presented. And I think for every single element of the agreement that she has presented, we have hopefully a resource that we can put in front that will help you understand a little bit better what Ceta can do for your company, and how you can delve a little bit deeper into each point that may interest you. I think I'm just simply going to take the structure that Esther went through as she was taking you through the agreement to give you a few specific examples of what we have developed. So as you can see on the screen, we have a number of different tools. We have guides, we have articles, we have webinars and videos. I think that for a company wanting to understand a little bit better either what Ceta brings or what the Canadian market is in a specific sector, of course the guides will be your go-to place, as will the webinars that can take you through a number of more specific elements, like how to export to Canada, how to find a business partner in Canada. I will start with the guides because those are those that provide a deeper delve into each subject. So Esther was mentioning, for example, that we have very strong provisions on trade in goods and facilitation of trade. So we have, for example, developed guides on in the agricultural field on alternatives to methyl bromide. We have guides on the textiles, footwear and clothing sector, on agriculture and food, and perhaps that's more of a niche subject, but on the hydrogen market for Canada. Estelle was also mentioning services, where we are developing guides on the services market in general, with a deeper delve on business and professional services. She mentioned procurement, which is indeed a big opening of the Ceta agreement. There we have developed quite an array of tools to help European companies understand what is at their disposal. We have a guide which provides the general legal framework of what Ceta provides, both at the federal level but also at the sub-federal level. And then we have another guide that delves specifically into how to find information on procurement in each province and for the larger buyers in each province. We will also shortly organize targeted webinars, taking a handful of companies through a number of questions that they've already given us, which all amounts to where to find the information and how best to present an offer in Canada. So I think you should stay tuned, and I will give at the end of my presentation the places where you should go to regularly to find these updates and new invitations. Estelle mentioned that the agreement improves the protection of IPR. So on IPR, we have a guide which is about to come out, and we have done a webinar recently explaining what are the main features of Ceta and what it helps with. Estelle also mentioned the specific issue of geographical indications, where we also have a guide to the protection of geographical indications in Canada. And we have done quite a few regional webinars as well with the provinces. I believe Estelle also mentioned, of course, mutual recognition of professional services, which ties into the issue of labour mobility, on which we've also done both a guide and a webinar recently. In terms of the webinars that we have, I would really encourage you to watch them. They're in a series, which is accessible from our website. And the last thing that I wanted to point to, and that's more, I would say, recreational, if such a word exists in our world. Those are short videos of EU and Canadian companies who have used the Ceta to explore the other partners market. And I would also encourage you to have a look at those, because some of them explain in greater detail which advantage of Ceta specifically has been useful for them. So after having presented you with all this information, perhaps now is the time to tell you where you can access it from. You have this information at the bottom of the slide. It is in two different places on the website of the delegation of Canada, of the EU, sorry, to Canada. And it is also, there is a repository on the European Commission's DG Trade's website. You have the links at the bottom of my slide. With this, I will end here, and I will leave you with Larissa Boldea, who will give you another type of online resource that can help you find information on how to explore the Canadian market. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maud.
Okay.
So this is the new portal that we have launched. From here, you can change the languages regime. However, this is available, like all the imports will be available in the member states languages, but for exports, you have to search in English. And the portal is in the blue part, you will have the static part, which will be translated. We will go deeper, but this is translated automatically by a machine. And this is our dynamic part. And I would like you to follow me on some imports, export examples, and also some specific information that could be found on the portal. So for example, we go to our first illustration, which is garden or umbrellas going from Belgium to Canada. And you could see the tariffs. We update our information on the tariffs almost every 2-3 months. And when you go down on the left side, there is a bar in which you could see all the relevant information on this specific search. And you could see that we have the MFN 7% of the free on board value, and the preferential rate is 0%. So EU is eligible for preferential rate, of course, if it is subject to an agreement. And here down, you could see also what the specific chapter does not cover. So it does not cover the walking sticks or the firearms or sword sticks. And it in the tariff under heading, so we go specific, as you could see, from the 4-digit down. So all these HS codes, of course, the first six ones are universal, but when we go up to the 10th number, it could differ from one country to another. And also you could find information on ROSA. Here I would not go deeper on this ROSA, on the rules of origin. I would invite you to follow one of our trainings, but are relevant informations to see if your product is eligible for the preferential rates, or to just make a quick assessment. And I would like to show you the taxes. So you see this one was updated on the 20th of January. Here you could see the last update, and we have different taxes, of course, depending on the country we are looking for, and as well as procedures and formalities. Now this one is just you could have a quick overview on the procedures and formalities for the products that you are importing, like let's say if you have to respect some environmental protection legislation or formalities that are applicable to your goods. And for instance, like when we go to you go to the overview in this particular part, you have classification of goods, different, as I've said, hazardous principles that could be respected. Nowadays, also information with the current situation. But what I would like to show you, and this is more interesting, is the general one, the general information, where, for instance, let's say we click on advanced commercial information, and then here, let's say you check our website and you are still not sure about the procedures, or you did not find what you wanted. So you could also look at the contact points, and you could see also if it's a specific hard copy required, or if you need another document, and also if you have a deadline. And also you will have also down to whom to submit these documents and what to enclose in the documents, as well as you have exactly, we update all the formulas, so you could be prepared from time, and you could also see if you have to translate your document. So everything is down on this page, as well as, very important, if it is a trade barrier, we have all the trade barriers on the portal, all the active trade barriers, and we encourage you to report a trade barrier. I would like to make a remark here that for all the companies or the users that are in third countries, they cannot have access to the exports. But on the trade barriers, for example, I will show you a tip after that on how to find the barriers if you don't see them in your search. And relevant for your business are the trade flow, like trade statistics, in case you are not sure if it is reliable to start accessing a specific market. You could see also the values that were in the past 5 years usually. I would like to move on to an example, Canada to Hungary. And this is AC socket with a noise filter, like a bit of a bizarre example, but I took it as being interesting to have the erga on in the example, as well as you see on the right side you have absolutely the legislation. So if I would click now here, it will go exactly to the part of the legislation that we are discussing about. So you see, the erga are like the tariff rights for all countries, but it might get lower with a trade agreement. And in terms of taxes, you see this one, it's just a regular VAT tax. And in general specific information, you could find like packaging list, how to address the different documents for cast with hazardous and climate protection. I would like you just to bear in mind that from now, like lately, UK will be considered, like it's considered as a third country, so you will find it on the country. You'll find it here. If you'd like to see some experts or imports, again, remember, if you are in a third country, you have access only to imports. I would like to show you where you could find relevant information for your business. So if you would like to see the trade barriers, I told you I will show you another way around. So in goods, main concepts, here you have a long list of what could you see, like agreements, trade agreements, rules of origin, as well as we go to trade barriers. And when you go down, you can either contact us from here or where I showed you before, but it is like here you can search also for a trade barrier. And let's say you want to go to Canada. So we go to Canada, you click, and then you see the barrier fishes that Canada has. And of course, also relevant, we were discussing about trade agreements. So on non-EU markets, we try to have a summary of all the trade agreements. And we go to non-EU markets, free trade agreements. And you have a summary of EU-Canada Ceta. And on the right side, you could see like the chapters, like what parts it covers, this summary. And let's say you are on a hurry and you want to see only the public procurement, so it jumps directly to the part you are really interested in. Moreover, relevant for all the EU businesses, we thought that it is good to have a page only for the SMEs. And you have here like different networks, how it is the Enterprise Europe network. You can have different centers for cooperations, as well as trade fairs. Moreover, you could also contact us. So if you click on contact, let's say you have a question, you don't find something on the portal, or you'd like to say to let us know that we have a problem on the website, or simply you have to report the trade barriers. So please feel free to use this formula, and we are also happy to hear from you and to have a strong cooperation to improve our services. And if you'd like to attend our further events, in the toolbox you have the event page, and I'm happy to pass the floor to my colleague from EEN.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the introduction and for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Caitlin Peterson, and I'm responsible for coordinating Canada's presence within the Enterprise Europe network. And I'll get into a little bit more about what that means. So the Enterprise Europe network is the world's largest support network for SMEs with international ambitions. Next slide, please. Awesome. So it comprises over 600 different business support organizations. Within those organizations, we've got more than 3,000 local experts, and the Enterprise Europe network is present in 60 countries worldwide. So it's probably obvious you've got Enterprise Europe network representatives in European countries. For countries that are not in Europe, we have what are called business cooperation centers, and those are consortia of business support organizations that represent countries outside of the EU within the Enterprise Europe network. Next slide, please. All right. So within Canada, we have a relatively new consortium. So we formed our consortium and joined the Enterprise Europe network in June of last year. So my organization, you can see on the bottom there, it's the logo on my left. So it's the German-Canadian Centre for Innovation and Research. We're located in Edmonton. We coordinate the Business Cooperation Centre for Canada, and we work together with our fellow consortium members, the EU Chamber of Commerce in Canada West, which is Vancouver, and then the European Chamber of Commerce in Canada, which is located in Toronto. So we're trying to have representation as much across the country as we can. Next slide, please. And you'll hear from both of the chambers separately, so I won't go into any detail about what they do because they can explain it much better than I can. So within EEN Canada, we combine international business expertise with local knowledge to take innovation into new markets and to provide a broad range of services for growth-oriented SMEs. And we really do try to cover the full spectrum of SME activity. So some of our consortium members specialize more in innovation, some of us specialize more in trade, but generally we try to keep the whole spectrum of SME activity covered. So we focus on things like international partnerships. There's a partnership database within the Enterprise Europe network that's a very useful tool to help Canadian companies find partners in Europe and vice versa. We participate in brokerage events. We help to organize brokerage events. Obviously, in these strange times we're living in, these are all virtual at the moment, but hopefully they'll be in person again soon. And we do help to prepare company missions. So for Canadian companies going over to Europe and then to receive company missions from Europe to Canada. We provide advisory support. So advice on EU laws and standards, market intelligence and IPR expertise, all of which are very, very broad. So if there's questions that a company has that we can't answer, we'll happily connect you to somebody who can. And we also provide innovation support. So information about finance and funding for different types of undertakings, innovation management services, as well as technology transfer services. So we're happy to advise on all of those things. And as I said, if there's something that we can't answer, we probably know who can, so we'll connect you further. Next slide, please. Awesome. So what this looks like on a day-to-day basis for us at the Enterprise Europe Network Canada, we do a lot of work, as I mentioned, on partnering. And for the Enterprise Europe Network's Partnership Opportunities database, I'll explain a little bit more what that's about because it's a really, really useful tool. It's a database that has more than 5,000 entries, I think. And as I said, it covers the spectrum of SME activity. So you're able, as an SME in Canada or an SME in Europe, through your local Enterprise Europe Network representative, to put a profile into this database that is either a business offer or request. So if you have something that you're looking to sell, you're trying to find a distributor, or alternately, you're looking for something, you want to buy something. then you can put in a business offer or request. You can also do a research and development request. So if there's a particular call for proposals that you would like to apply for and you're looking for a partner, then you can put a research and development request with respect to a specific call. Or you can also do a technology offer or request, which basically means if you have a technology that you have to offer, or vice versa, you're looking for a particular technology to incorporate into something that you're working on, then we can do that through the database as well. And we have detailed guidelines for drafting each profile, and it's reviewed by 2 separate EEN reviewers, so it's a bit of a peer review process. So you can be sure that all of the profiles that you find in the database are fairly rigorously scrutinized and will be of quite high quality. And then, as I mentioned, we also take part in brokerage events and provide brokerage event opportunities for the companies in our jurisdictions. We facilitate trade missions, and then we also try to keep a fairly steady offering of informational materials. So we have webinars, workshops. Once again, we can gather in person. We'll have conferences, and that's kind of what we do on a daily basis. So to break it down. Next slide, please. And we're quite pleased with how things have grown and progressed over the past 7 months, I guess, since we got EEN Canada up and running. So we were pleased to be able to include all of Canada. We've organized or co-organized 11 digital brokerage events on vastly different topics, so for multiple different sectors. We've delivered 4 partnership agreements between Canadian and European companies. And one of the main metrics of success for these partnership agreements is how many new jobs were created and how many were maintained. So thus far, we've been able to facilitate the creation of 17 new jobs and the maintenance of 21 existing jobs. And we were able as well to add the Ocean Technology Council of Nova Scotia as a local cooperation partner in the Maritimes. So we're really excited to be working with them as well. Next slide, please. I'm done. Yes, so that's Enterprise Europe Network Canada, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And if you think that our services could be of use to you, then please feel free to contact us at any time. Thanks very much.
So now we're being joined by Andrea Demarteau of the Trade Commissioner Service of Global Affairs Canada. So I will now give the floor to Andrea.
Great. Good morning and good afternoon for those in Europe. I will be brief because I know we have a few more presentations. My name is Andrea Demarteau. I am from the Government of Canada, and in particular the Trade Commissioner Service. So if we can advance to the next slide, I'll tell you what the Trade Commissioner Service is. We're actually one of the oldest organizations in the Government of Canada. We've been around for 125 years. Just a brief history. 125 years ago, we sent our first officer to Australia to try to, bolster our international trade. We've been traders ever since then. We're a trading nation, much like many of you over in Europe, and we really value the opportunity to be able to connect to the rest of the world through the Trade Commissioner Service. So our Trade Commissioner Service offers, I would say, 3 types of services. We do have sector-specific officers that are experts in their field. Their main role is to assist Canadian companies to export, but they also are available to work with you if you're looking to source from Canada. And keep in mind that under the Ceta, of course, you'd have access to all the preferential tariffs. So if there are things you're looking to source from Canada, especially on a sectoral basis, we have experts that are there to help you. We also have investment specialists. So our investment specialists, again, are there to answer any of your questions if you're interested in setting up shop in Canada, even if it's a small presence to kind of bolster your business in Canada and look for opportunities throughout other markets in our region. And then we have what we call STI specialists or our STI counselors. That really are looking to work with Canadian science, technology, and innovation organizations and connect them to organizations around the world, but in particular in the European Union. So if you're looking for R&D partnerships or science and technology partnerships, then we have specialists as well in our teams. If we can move to the next slide. So we have 160 points across the world where we have offices, but these are where all our offices are across the European Union. So as you can see, we're in most major capitals and some major cities as well. We have multiple offices in Germany and in Spain. We also are, for your information, located within the embassies and consulates. So it's pretty easy to find us. If you can find a Canadian embassy in your country, you'll be able to find us. We do also, as your external services also do participate in all the major trade shows. Now, most of them are virtual online right now, but you likely will see a Canadian presence if you go to a trade show, and I can think of some off the top of my head, like Web Summit or Mobile World Congress or the Global Seafood Show or the Paris Air Show or Farnborough. I mean, we're there, we have a large Canadian presence, so feel free to please come and see us, or pop into one of our virtual booths at some of these virtual trade shows that are now happening across your region, and then of course across the world, until we get back to the point where we can meet in person again. Our offices also are very well connected with our networks in Canada. So you will have seen that we have provinces and then municipalities in Canada. We have trade specialists in all the offices of the provinces and the municipalities. So we can connect you well into those organizations if you're looking at a particular province or a city. You can go to the next slide, please. And just some of the advantages of working with Canada. Of course, we talked about Ceta, which is what this webinar is all about. But keep in mind that Canada has 14 FTAs that have been ratified with over 49 countries that are now in force. And that gives us access to 1.5 billion consumers around the world. So yes, we are a large country, relatively small population of 37 million people. But through our FTAs, we have access to 1.5 billion customers. So some of the larger FTAs, of course, that we have in force right now are the CUSMA, or you may have heard it referred to as Nafta, which was recently negotiated. That's our longtime FTA with the US and Mexico. We also, of course, have a free trade agreement with the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which is our most recent agreement, and we call that the CPTPP. Within your region, we have a free trade agreement with Nafta as well. So Canada itself is very well connected to the rest of the world. We offer great opportunities for those who have a presence in Canada and meet the rules of origin for their the products that they produce. They have access to all these other markets throughout the world. Next slide. So, I'll let you have a quick look over here. I want to leave you on just a note to tell you about what a great place Canada is to do business. We have one of the strongest economies in the G7, the lowest debt to GDP ratio in the G7 as well. We have a very highly educated workforce. It's an excellent quality of life. We're rich in multiculturalism, and I think we have a lot of the same values in the business community as Europeans do. We have a highly competitive business environment in terms of establishing a business and our tax system. And then, of course, we have great universities and access to talent. Next slide, please. So just to end, if you have any questions about the Trade Commissioner Service or you would like to get in touch with us, your best bet is to go to our general website, which is www.tradecommissioner.gc.ca. There you can have all your questions answered, or you can access our offices in the various cities. But if you do have particular interest in investing in Canada, we also have our website there as well. And I will end on that, and I'll be available for questions later.
Thank you, Andrea. We will now be joined by Delphine Adeno-Owusu of the European Union Chamber of Commerce in Canada, in Toronto, for a different perspective. Delphine, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear you well. I hope
Great.
everyone else can. Yeah.
Thank you very much for organizing this webinar. I just wanted to stress one point before we go ahead. Indeed, UCAN is the EU Chamber of Commerce in Canada, is based in Toronto, but our activity is really throughout the whole Canada, thanks to our network and our partners. So it's not just for activities in Toronto. So what we do, we work a lot with the member state Chamber of Commerce that are based either in Toronto or in Canada. And we are also supported and financed by the EU Commission through the EU delegation. And our activities really is on 3 pillars. The first one, which is advocacy, the second one, information and representation. So for advocacy, we really advocate for EU companies at all levels of government. So if you identify opportunities or challenges, or you want us to work with you to support you in developing your actions in Canada, please feel free to contact us. On the information side, and because we are a little bit on time, I will go to the next slide. And of course, we represent our member interests, which of course we do as ourselves, but we also have a network with this. We are part of the EBO Worldwide Network, which is the network of EU Chambers of Commerce abroad. We are part of EN Canada, just as Caitlin mentioned earlier. So for the second pillar, which is information, this is our website, a copy of our website. So just as Maud actually presented to you earlier in this presentation, we also have quite a number of resources online. We have guides, articles, videos, and webinars. The target is to share as much as information as possible. So this is for EU companies in Canada with a focus on Ontario and Quebec. We also published recently kind of overview of what Canada is. If you are a European company and you are looking at which country you would like to develop to, so this is what we did recently. We also published recently a guide on e-commerce and consideration for EU companies when they settle here in Canada. We have also many articles around figures, etc. So all the resources you can find on our website. We also last year from September to December we had a series of webinars called One Week, One Province, where the target was really to introduce to European companies each Canadian provinces. So you can also find that on our YouTube channel. Maybe if we go to the next slide, this is our events coming on. So for workshop and guides, we have 3 dates coming on, which is the North American market from Canada, how you can leverage both Ceta and CUSMA. So this will be end of March 2021. We will also have one on import of food product in Canada in April, and we'll have one on standards and conformity compliance in June. We will also have a great networking event around Europe Days in May 2021, together with EN Canada and Ceta. So I hope many of you will join. It will be also kind of a matchmaking event. And in next month, we are going to also publish our digital industry survey. So in order to receive all this information, please feel free to sign up to our newsletter on our website directly. And I think for the next slide is just something new that's since January. Yes, for now, our members are really member state chamber of commerce, but since January 2021, we are opening our membership to corporations and companies. The target is really to have ground information on what is going on, what European companies are doing here in Canada, if they need any help through industry committees, etc. So there's a lot of opportunities through membership around advocacy, networking, and visibility. If you want more information, again, because I want to be mindful of time, you can check our website or you can contact me directly. I think the next slide, you have all my contacts, so feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Delphine, for this wonderful presentation. Finally, we will move to Alex Martiniak of the European Union Chamber of Commerce in Canada, but he is from the office in Vancouver.
Excellent. Good morning, everyone, and good afternoon for our audience in Europe. My name is Alex Martiniak, and I'm Executive Director of the EU Chamber of Commerce in Canada West, which is located headquartered in Vancouver, but operating in 4 Western Canadian provinces of British Columbia, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba. Next slide, please. So we were established in in November of 2013 under the Society Act of BC as the non-profit bilateral trade organization, and equally assisting companies from Europe wanting to do business here, and also Canadian companies interested in doing business in Europe. And our mission is to facilitate trade and investments between EU and Canada with a special focus on Western Canada, increasing public awareness of Ceta and supporting and promoting the EU-Canada trade and investments under this Golden Agreement, and complementing activities of the European Union Chamber of Commerce in Toronto, and collaborating with the EU Chamber of Commerce in Toronto on various activities, and also to liaison with the EU delegation in Canada, with Canadian Trade Commissioner Service, with government, with provincial governments, with also various government agencies and strategic partners from both public and private sector, operating both in Canada and the EU member states. Next slide, please. And our main activities and services that we provide to SMEs is really focusing, we're trying to focus on assisting SMEs, both European and Canadian, in doing business in Canada or Europe, and such as soft landing services, setting up operations, registering company, business referrals, setting up bank account, and starting even with presence with the virtual office, conducting feasibility studies, customized market research or business partners research, organizing B2B meetings and B2G meetings for businesses and institutions, organizing various seminars, conferences, business forums, mostly around Ceta, but also for individual member states. We've worked in the past already with the embassies or ministries of foreign trades of various member states such as Spain, Poland, Czech Republic, Slovenia, Italy, Hungary, here in the West, presenting the opportunities to potential Canadian investors and businesses interested in doing business in their countries. We've also we are organizing also promotional events and educational campaigns, for example, on GI, on geographic indication products and certifications from Europe. We work a lot in different industry sectors and hosting trade missions both in Europe and in Canada. And we've worked with consumer products such as food and wine, agri-food sector, design, furniture, but also technology sectors, innovation, such as clean tech and ICT. And we work with all industry sectors, making either referrals or conducting research and business-to-business meetings ourselves. We are providing free consulting services to SMEs, initial consulting services, and we work, as you know, closely with EN Canada. We are members of EN Canada together with the German-Canadian Centre for Innovation and Research, and with European Chamber of Commerce in Toronto. And obviously, you can contact us through our website or many social media accounts that were available on the first slide. I will be available for any questions if you have. Since we are running out of time, this would be my last slide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex, for this excellent presentation. Well, that Seeing that that's the end of the presentations, we now turn to the audience to see if they have any questions for our presenters today. I was wondering about charging for services. For instance, Caitlin, does the EEN charge the individual client, or is that covered by a government fund?
So generally speaking, no, we do not charge for services. So kind of the basic suite of Enterprise Europe Network Canada services, such as basic inquiries, making connections to, say, the Trade Commissioner Service or to IP professionals, putting profiles into our database. All of those things are free of charge, as are most of the digital brokerages that we co-organize.
Can a company in Canada benefit from the information of access to market?
Okay, perfect. Thanks a lot for the question. Indeed, the portal is for free for all users and you can access information in Canada. However, you will not see the export information. So let's say from Belgium to Canada, you will not have access to this information, but just as a tip, you can turn the question around and just look from Canada to Belgium and you should still have access to relevant information for you. And on top of this, all the parts that I showed on the SME tool, the agreements, all that, the static part, it's accessible. Just the exports information in the dynamic. So when you search for a product with HS code, that one it's not accessible. Thanks a lot for your question.
All right, I think that is all for today. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending. And we wish you a good evening for those of you in Europe and a great rest of your morning for those of you in Canada. Thank you for attending. You can see here the social media links of the organizations involved. Thank you and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.